Good evening, motherfuckers. It's your boy Micro, Mr. Microtia. Mr. Lost a lot of money these past couple weeks because he's been a little bit stubborn and also pretty damn sick if you couldn't tell by the sound of my voice. So, we just gonna kick it off with Meta. Meta, again, was on a tear. Everything in between ended up breaking out, or rather breaking down from this massive wedge that it created, and saw some beautiful lows. It was about a 20-point move. Obviously, I didn't catch it. Your boy was out in Denver this day, and this past week, he's been very sick. So, unfortunately, no big trades for me this past week. Nonetheless, this setup played out beautifully. Now we are coming back to a point where there was a ton of resistance, which turned support. And then again turn resistance. So we're gonna have to see if we break over this 350 level, and if we do, we definitely see this 355 level. Over this 355 level, I would love to see this 350 level, and then over that, this 357.31 level. Over that, I mean, we kind of just make a push back to all-time highs, but I do see 359 on the cards. Now, if we decide to continuously reject here, then 349.53 break. I think that we do end up seeing this 348.32, and then this 347.52. And below that, I would like to see this 346.43. And down below, I mean, honestly, I'd love to see this 343 be retested again. This is like probably the main short target on the short side that I'd like to see. Below that, first we get this 342.25, 342, I guess, so 342 area, and then this 340 area. Now, this level here, I think will be a relatively, this 341, 340 area will be a relatively big area for us to break through if we do end up breaking down. And if we don't end up breaking down, then there's that upside. But if we do end up coming to this specific level, then I do think that we see some significant downside, possibly bleeding back down into this 330 level. But that's kind of just what I see for Meta. Zuckerberg has sold over $450 million worth of shares the past 2 months. As everybody knows, he's been building a massive bunker underground for God knows what. So, I mean, and that bunker actually cost him about $500 million. So, ironically enough, he sold all those shares to build this bunker at all-time highs, which, makes a lot of sense anyway to sell at all-time highs. So, yeah, that's kind of like what I think for Meta and kind of where I think we'll go. A simple break of this 350. I'll be long into this 355. A simple break of this 355. I'll be long into this 357 area. And then this would be my maximum take profit. Below this 349 area or 350, I guess, honestly. Below 350, I would love to see this 347 area. Below that 347 area, like I said, I'd like to see this 346 area and then potentially this 343 area. So that's kind of all I'm looking for on Meta. Another stock that I'm obviously going to be looking out for is NVDA, as we have rejected this 495 level a fucking multitude of times since mid-December. I would love to see this specific level break, because if we do end up getting a break, we're going to push to that 500 level. And that 500 level that break should take us to, all-time highs. I don't see why it wouldn't. But that's what I'm looking for a break to the upside. There's just been so much chop recently. It's been really hard to take good trades, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I would like to see this 495 level break on NVIDIA in order for us to have that big push back towards this 500. Once this 500 breaks, I mean, honestly, I just wait for the retest for it to hold and then continue long. I mean, it's really that simple. With some downside on SMH, Avgo, AMD, all of these other chip companies, we have seen some relative weakness when it comes to NVIDIA, but it's just mainly been chop. It has not really been anything that's, I mean, look at this. This is the 1 hour, right? So you trade on Tuesday, you have to catch dead bottom at, what was dead bottom? 476, and then you get this 83? Yeah, like this 483.50, then you break lower to this 472, back to this 481, go low again, 474. It's just range trading is relatively difficult on higher time frames, just because it's not really that clear and concise of a move, right? So again, sorry for all this nonsense bullshit talk, but this 486.67, I'll definitely be looking to short back down into this 484 area. If we do end up bouncing off this 484 area, I will swing long into this 495 area, as I think that, once we come back down here, we retest, we should see a healthier move up. If we retest this 486.67 level also, I will, and we hold above it, I will re-long and continue long rather. So that's really all I'm looking for. I mean, all of the levels that I'm looking for are listed on this right side. So this 478.28 level, I think, is going to be a big level for us to hold. If not, then, we do see some downside. I mean, it's just makes the most sense. So under this 478 level, I think I'll be short. And then if we continue to hold above 484, I'll continue to be long. So that's kind of all I'm looking for on NVIDIA. Looking at Microsoft, we tried to take some calls, I think if it was not this week, the week before, and it just did not work out too well. As you can see, I was expecting us to continue to consolidate and get really tight on this trend for an explosive move to the upside. Obviously, that didn't happen. This 377.30 level continues to be a level that is like a brick wall, right? I mean, once we come into it, we just see a bunch of selling, a bunch of pressure, pushing it back to the downside and pinning it down a little bit, right? With that being said, there is a ton of support at this 366.68 level. I mean, and a metric fuck ton at that, right? Like, we have retested this a multitude of times. So a break below this, I would love to see this 362 again. I think that that's indefinitely possible if that happens. If not that, at least this 365, right? For this 370 break, though, we should see this 370, 316 again. As you can see, it's basically a perfect level, right? I mean, we have a multitude of rejections here. We have support here, and it just continues to trade and break down and go higher once it breaks this level. So this 370, 316 level is a very important level for us to watch for. Over that, 375.17, over that, 377.30, and I just want a break of that. I mean, like, fuck, it just needs to go at this point. It's retested this level so many times, but without the proper amount of support pushing it through this level, we're obviously never going to get that break. So this 377.30 level is a level that I would look out for, as this level would be either a maximum take profit or a full port to the long side, in which, we would see a massive move, to the upside, going into all-time highs. So that's kind of just what I see for Microsoft. Super big range to trade. Other than that, though, I mean, it looks pretty solid. So under this 366.68 is where I would short, and then above this 370.41 is where I would look to take some longs. If you would have told me that we would have started out 2024 with Apple being down 7% on the week, this should have been the main focus and the only fucking focus for this past week. But, things happen, and it was a very clean move to the downside. Now, what do I see moving forward? I don't know. I really don't know what to look for moving forward. We can mark out all of these levels, everything in between, but Apple just logistically has been having a multitude of problems with their sales. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Everything is super expensive. Like you can't even go buy some groceries. For example, I bought some Mucinex, some Germex, and some Kleenex, and I think that's it, and some Halls, and it was $30. Like everything is way too expensive. So then you try to factor in, phones, iPads, MacBooks, iMacs, all of that. It just kind of sounds ridiculous. So honestly, I do see some more downside for Apple. I would love this 180 to hold. If we do see this 180 hold, then I think a move back to this 185 is definitely possible. If not, then I would like to see, and I know this sounds absolutely insane, but I would love to see this 170 level. I mean, I don't see why not. So if we're not able to hold and the market continues to be either choppy or bearish, then I do think that we see this 170. Personally, though, I do expect a good bounce, and that bounce moving us back into this 185 area with a retest of this 183 area before having some healthier moves to the upside. So, I mean, would I short this? Yes, I would short it under 180, and then I would probably, take profit around. I would probably take profit around this 178. That's probably what I'd do. If, 178 breaks, I would love to see this 177.31, but ultimately my main target would be that 173. Under that, I don't think that we get for a very, long time. But that's kind of what I see on Apple. A little sketchy. I don't know if I'll actually trade it, but it's been a market sweetheart the past week. So we might see some action, and we may take some trades based off of it. So at the time of recording this, unfortunately, I'm not in any position. But Boeing had some news over the weekend where there was a couple planes that had to be grounded because a window opened or gave out or some crazy shit like that. So always be fucking careful when you're going on flights. I hate flying to begin with. But at the time of recording this, it says that it's at 249. Looking at Robinhood's overnight pricing, it's actually trading around 230. So whoever swung puts over the weekend, I know there's probably some degenerate that full ported. Congratulations, he's definitely paid. So what would I like to see? I would just like to see more downside. If that's going to be the case, I would just love to see more downside. If that's not going to happen, then I would just like to see at least a bounce at this 233.23 level. If not there, then again, this 230 level to retest this 233 in order to see more downside. I do think it's an overreaction, right? I don't think that it's going to affect their earnings massively. Nothing like that. I do think it's a big relative overreaction. So that's kind of where I'd be expecting a bounce. If not there, then I do think that we end up seeing, this 223 level, 224 level, or this 222 level. I mean, again, I really think it's a massive overreaction. I don't think anybody's going to be going out of their way to sell their Boeing stock because of one specific incident. If like 10 of their planes blew up because of some mechanical problems, I could see that. But like, it's not really that deep, So I'm expecting a bounce at this 230 level. If not, then I just would like to see this 222 level over the week. I mean, it's not really anything big. So from that 230 level, I'd like to see this 233.23, and then this 235.46, going higher. Oh yeah, perfect. I would love to see this 238.58, and then going higher than that, 240. I mean, that's kind of where I'd expect us to be. To the upside. Now, to the downside, if we go to a higher time frame, use all of the the messy lines. Again, there's this 230 here. But below that, I mean, I would really like to see this 226 area. because I think that this would be a good area. Here, let's go a little bit higher. Cool. So this actually helps a lot more. So I would definitely like to see a little bit lower than, I guess. I mean, this 216 level would probably be like the line in the sand, I think, before we end up seeing this 208 and then inevitably that 200 if it decided to go down that far. So yeah, that's kind of all that I'm looking for on Boeing. Nothing, insane. I do think that we get a bounce, but if we do get some continued downside, then it's this 222.33 level, and then that 216, where is it? Then this 216.89 level.